Listen, I want to start this video off by letting you guys know that this isn't a video to undermine Shanks. I will not be trolling Shanks this video. I will not be calling him a rat, ratatouille, nothing. I never really done that to begin with, but when I make jokes about certain characters, people automatically assume my videos come off as biased. But I fuck with Shanks though. I personally have him within my top 4, top 5 strongest characters in One Piece right now, and the strongest Yonko. Oda loves this man to oblivion, and it would be dumb for me to bet against him. But that's not what I'm doing. There's just simply better investments that we're going to talk about later on in the video. But before we get into that, guys, I'm going against the entire One Piece fandom here. I'm a brave man that's challenging the minds of 90% of the One Piece watchers who have Shanks top 1. You guys know how the community views him. The backlash I'm about to receive, I would appreciate all the kind souls who could take the time to subscribe if you're new and like the video. The support would help combat the negativity and keep everything balanced as everything should be. Now, let's get into this. There's a flux of people within the community, even within my channel, who think it's objectively wrong to consider any character stronger than Shanks. And the sole reason to this is because, like I mentioned on this channel a lot, Shanks has the best feats in the series. He has some amazing statements, he has some crazy abilities, crazy hockey. He is simply the most impressive and gives the aura of being the strongest, which I can see and understand completely. I don't have a problem with that being the case. It's just how people come to that conclusion I don't agree with. In a series like One Piece, gauging power strictly of who showed the most feats takes us to terrible places. The majority of top tiers in One Piece haven't showcased their full power. Some haven't even showcased a fraction of their power or even what ability they use to fight. Us claiming one person is the strongest because of a lack of other characters showing their full power or even what they can do in a fight is completely flawed. I won't go deep into this because I made another video on this called Narrative Transcends All. But there it is, the word narrative. So characters have to be scaled using it in One Piece. What's the point of strictly using feats just to be proven wrong later? I can say Chopper is stronger than Emu, then look retarded EOS. Like, what's the point of doing that? But oh, he made a second commander spit out blood. Yeah, okay. You see how fucked this is? I can give endless examples. If you apply a narrative as to why you consider Shanks the strongest on top of the feats he already has, that's when I consider your take at least more credible. But then again, I still won't agree because I'm gonna say this bluntly, there's a false perception of what kind of role Shanks plays, and a character's role / importance can determine their strength. Listen, I know I sound like I know something you don't. Don't worry, I'm not a genius, neither am I fucking Oda, so my ass could be wrong at the end of the day. But I gotta speak from my perspective. The problem with Shanks, I believe, is that he serves no real purpose. Okay, don't take that out of context. Let me clarify. He serves no purpose to look the strongest or to be considered as such. Many of you may disagree with me for the following reasons. Number 1, Shanks is the modern day Roger. Number 2, Shanks is Luffy's end goal. And number 3, Luffy and Shanks reunion. Now the first thing, Shanks is the modern day Roger. Now Shanks being the modern day Roger is strange to me, but I can see what you guys are seeing. I think it's unfair though to assume Shanks is as strong as Roger when they haven't accomplished nearly the same things. I can see how he kind of resembles the whole hockey man aura that Roger was, so I'm fine with Shanks having the nickname, I guess, but it shouldn't be a strength thing since Roger has done and accomplished way more than Shanks. But people mainly believe this since Shanks did Divine Departure on Eustace Captain Kidd, RIP that brother, which is the same exact move Roger uses. This can be viewed as a parallel indicating he's Roger 2.0, but I view it as a homage to his late captain that passed away. Shanks was on Roger's crew when he was just a baby. Roger saved him while he was abandoned in a treasure chest. His captain was the man to him when he was growing up. You can see the impact Roger's death had on Shanks at his execution. Him growing up and having an attack that is identical to his captain could somewhat be expected. That man could be considered his father figure. This man Roger also passed down his straw hat to Shanks at such a young age, and we know how legendary this straw hat is, especially when you look at other characters like Yamato, for example, because I'm curious. She also had an attack identical to her father's. What are we gonna say about her? Kobe also had an attack called Honesty Impact in homage to his teacher Garp, who took him under his wing. I think it's normal for characters to have attacks identical or similar to characters that had a direct relation to them, whether that's blood or not, because that person probably had a big impact on their life. Kaido used to beat the fuck out of Yamato, he probably instilled that in her bag forcefully. So regardless, I don't see how this could be viewed as a strength thing, to say he's as strong as Roger when he hasn't accomplished nearly what Roger has accomplished, and the attack he used doesn't necessarily make him as strong as Roger because because it could be viewed as an attack that's a homage towards Roger. You know what I'm trying to say? Now, some people like to take this a step further. They like to say Shanks could be stronger than Roger himself. The whole guy that they're trying to base his strength off of, they're basically implying he is stronger than that guy. Shanks obviously being the modern day Roger, quote unquote, and the fact that there's this theme of the new generation surpassing every single generation to come, who's to say Shanks is not stronger than Roger? There's a lot of problems to that. First one is the theme about the new generation surpassing the previous ones. It's true. The new generation will surpass Shanks' generation because Shanks isn't a part of the new generation. He's in the current generation. So that does not apply to him. Number two, what purpose is there for him to be stronger than Roger? What would make him look stronger? All these things you would have to ask. And if you have answers to those questions, continue watching the video. Shanks is also referred to apparently as the man closest to being Pirate King in the 612 data book Violet Buggy novel. Whatever they be calling these data books that they pull out their ass, I don't know. But wherever this was from states, if we define Pirate King as being the freest man, then Shanks would be the closest to being Pirate King. Keywords, if we define the Pirate King as such, that definition of Pirate King is in line with Luffy's definition specifically, not Roger's. Hey, on the upside, that draws a connection between Luffy and Shanks more than it does with Roger and Shanks. Hey, maybe Luffy one day will surpass Shanks in freedom. What the fuck does that even mean? Shanks is not Luffy's end goal, nor is he necessarily his rival. I guess you could consider his rival because he's in the race for the One Piece, but at that point you could call pretty much anybody his rival. Shanks is simply his inspiration to become a pirate. Shanks is a side quest for Luffy. Hold on, let me explain. Luffy has a goal and a dream. His current goal is to become Pirate King, and his dream has been hidden for us the entire series. Unless you think his dream is surpassing Shanks, or unless you think Shanks is the Pirate King, then what are we talking about when we say Shanks is Luffy's end goal? The fact that Luffy told Shanks that he will have a crew better than his one day and will surpass them led people to believe his goal is now surpassing Shanks' strength till the end of time. And that's the last thing Luffy will do, which I don't know why we came to that conclusion. Shanks told Luffy bring back his hat when he becomes a great pirate. Technically he already achieved that, right? He's a Yonko who are by definition the greatest pirates. But I thought Shanks was the ultimate goal / the end goal. If Shanks really was Luffy's end goal, wouldn't that be the last thing he should achieve? Hence the words end goal. He himself is aware that's a promise he made to Shanks. If Luffy already achieved one of those goals, why the fuck are we assuming him surpassing Shanks' strength as something that requires him to be the end boss and pinnacle of strength in this series? Luffy wants to prove something to Shanks. He wants to become the most infamous pirate ever and keep his word to Shanks. It's not his top priority. We all know what that is, which is becoming the Pirate King. Shanks could be viewed as a side quest that he will complete on his path to becoming Pirate King. Same way how he kept his promise of being a great pirate, but he hasn't even completed his major goal yet. Yes, technically surpassing the red-haired pirate is one of Luffy's goals, but it's definitely not the main one, nor is this something that he's actively prioritizing and trying to achieve. It's something that's naturally going to happen along the way of his actual journey. Like I showed you guys earlier, once again, Luffy knows he had a promise he made to Shanks, but that's not the last thing he's attempting to do. It's something that's happening before his main actual goal. It's something that happened before his main goal. Why is that any different than surpassing Shanks? Why does that have to be the final thing? Why does that have to make him the strongest? Lastly, so Luffy and Shanks reunion is something that should happen. I'm not crazy enough to believe Oda would skip out on a moment like this, but then this reunion creates possibilities of a showdown with Shanks and Luffy. This leading to a Luffy at his prime potentially fighting with Shanks, and Shanks looking like he can fight top 1 Pirate King Luffy. Now my problem with this is that if they fight, this wouldn't be anything noteworthy. Because of this reunion to even happen is under the premises of Shanks being a good guy. If Shanks is a good guy, that automatically takes away the tension from this fight. What reason does Luffy have to cook Shanks? What will motivate him to defeat Shanks like all his other fights do? What is he fighting for? He fought for Otama and the other citizens in Wano to be free of Kaido's rule so that they can eat whatever they want. He fought Arlong for what he did to Nami and to free her. He fought Dofi for Rebecca and the Dressrosa citizens. The list goes on. When Luffy is fighting for something, when he's gonna fight Blackbird for the One Piece to achieve his dream, that infinitely only makes him fight harder. He has nothing to fight for in this battle, or this friendly battle against Shanks, especially if this is Pirate King Luffy when he's already solidified himself as the greatest pirate. What could Shanks possibly stand in his way for? You're probably saying the One Piece. Now what if the battle for the One Piece is what you're probably saying? And I do agree that's the only real potential battle Luffy can partake in when it comes to fighting Shanks. But the problem is, from story implications, it is safe to assume that Blackbeard will be the bigger player and the stronger hurdle towards Luffy to claim it. I don't need to explain this because I'm sure everyone probably agrees, and I will talk about it later on in the video, but if you somehow don't, the people who say Shanks is a modern day Roger, I want to remind you guys Blackbeard has parallels to Rocksteady's Zebek that was stated to be Roger's greatest enemy, who could potentially become Luffy's greatest enemy. But let's say he does fight Shanks for the One Piece and he's the main villain. Does the show now end there? If that's what you think, sure. I can completely understand why you think he could look like the strongest and be the strongest. It is likely the show ultimately ends when the world government is taken down, which we know is going to happen since Oda has hyped up the final war taking place himself. But once again, I'm not Oda, so if you believe the final thing that happens is that Luffy defeats Shanks and becomes Pirate King, that's all you. It's just unlikely when Blackbeard has the potential to be a bigger threat and Luffy has the potential to interact with stronger opponents within the world government after the One Piece fight. There's just so much character who serve a greater purpose than Shanks in my opinion that will most likely showcase them stronger. I'm going to explain and describe 4 characters, maybe 5, to you that I believe all have the potential to be stronger than Shanks. You can disagree on a lot of these characters, but the goal is to at least convince you with at least one of them to show you the light that him being the strongest can't really be the case. Number 1, Blackbeard. I don't currently have him beating Shanks, but he's a character we know that's constantly trying to grow. So I kind of talked about this earlier. Now that Shanks is in the race for the One Piece, this in my opinion is set up for his ultimate failure. We know Luffy's biggest adversary is destined to be Blackbeard for the One Piece. Shanks himself low-key believes that as well. He's made it apparent that he tries to stop Blackbeard throughout the entire series and is aware of the threat he can become. I think it's inevitable that Blackbeard continues to grow to the point where the only pirate that can stand in his way for the One Piece is the future Pirate King, aka the main character. And Blackbeard at that point would essentially become Luffy's greatest enemy, mirroring and surpassing the greatest enemy of the previous Pirate King, and therefore eclipsing Shanks in my opinion. Next we have Mihawk. Well, this one's kind of obvious. You already know what I'm gonna say. I'm not doing this whole Mihawk is only more skilled than Shanks. Shanks is a martial artist, he's a hockey man, he has stronger hockey. I'm not doing all that bullshit in this video. I'll make this very simple. All of us can understand. If Shanks is 100% confirmed a swordsman, he confirms that himself, he should indeed and most definitely be weaker than Mihawk, which is very possible that he only is a swordsman, but some people don't like to hear that. Mihawk, I believe, is actually the character who's closer to Roger than Shanks. My reasoning for this is that I believe Zoro will become the strongest swordsman / sword user, even surpassing Roger. To do that, he needs to fight someone as strong as Roger or near that level. Mihawk being the pinnacle of swordsmanship in an era where they're supposed to be the catalyst to push the new generation to surpassing every previous one makes it possible for me, because obviously Roger was a swordsman. Maybe you guys don't believe that too, whatever. Next one, Akainu. Now this is definitely going to be the most controversial one because a lot of people don't think of the admirals in a high regard, which I always found strange, Akainu especially, because he's arguably the second most ranked character by Oda. He too has arguably some of the best feats in the series, while adding in his importance to the story makes his potential to be super strong very likely. If you don't agree with this one, that's fine, but I'll explain. Akainu is the fleet admiral. Like I mentioned with Mihawk, he's the fleet admiral in a generation where they must test the new generation, which will surpass every generation prior. Akainu hints at this by saying he became a fleet admiral in one hell of an era. If Sengoku, the previous generation, was able to challenge the Pirate King, which he implied himself, I think Akainu is gonna do exactly that. Like I said, because they have to challenge the new generation so that they can truly surpass the previous one. And also, since I believe Akainu versus Luffy is destined to happen. My previous video goes into that, and I give you guys a wonderful breakdown on why I wholeheartedly believe so. So go check that out. Pretty good video. This fight would more than likely take place after Luffy finds the One Piece. So an Akainu versus a Pirate King Luffy would be destined for an amazing fight. If Akainu is going toes with that guy, you know what that indirectly applies. Some people think this is going to be a mid/low diff. Fine. That's why I doubt most of you guys would agree to this, since he already has the Admiral name weighing him down to majority of the community. If you think Shanks is top 1, chances are you probably think the Admirals aren't really a threat to Shanks. Next we have Imu. I think this one is pretty self-explanatory unless unless you're stuck with mentioning the fact that Emu has no feats, like that means he can't be stronger in the future. Now, Emu is a fighter confirmed. I don't even know the chapter, but we've seen that Emu is a creature, probably with a devil fruit, that seemingly has abilities, and so do the Gorosei. This man's been around since the Void Century. What he could possess in his bag is endless. Do we know what a man can do in 800 years? Holy shit. Given his statue in the world being the character that sits at the literal top of everything, he resembles the ultimate control over the world. Luffy represents the ultimate freedom. They are bound to clash, and Luffy is bound to do the typical shonen hero thing and save the world. An enemy of that caliber can't be defeated by no side character. I'ma be real with you. There's no character in the series with a higher authority or a higher rank that can oppose Luffy. There's obviously more parallels and more things tying Emu as the final villain, but I think you guys get the point. Maybe I'll make my own separate video on that. So lastly, Dragon. Holy fucking shit, I ain't even gonna cap to you guys. Y'all don't need to believe this shit because I don't even believe this shit myself. That's why in the beginning of the video, I said maybe 4 characters or 5, because Dragon is such a wild card that I can't comfortably say or give you a reason why he's stronger than Shanks or will be shown to be stronger than Shanks. To be honest, fuck this. I have Shanks over Dragon, so yeah, Shanks is probably lower in my top 5, but it's just the potential he has. Being the father of Luffy, being the most wanted man, having potentially, or what might I say potentially, having the highest bounty in One Piece, being the leader of the revolutionary army, his power being completely hidden the entire series and will be showcased in the most pivotal moment of the series, aka probably the final war, where characters are going to look the strongest, makes him a scary man that I don't want to bet against. Dragon's implications and who he's going to fight and the role he plays isn't clear as the other characters I mentioned earlier, so I can't comfortably put him over Shanks, but he is an insane wild card that I had to mention him. So yeah, these characters I mentioned serve a greater purpose in the story than Shanks in regards to them looking stronger, to where they will be shown stronger based on scenarios and altercations they are put in and at what time their power is shown in the series. I don't expect you guys to agree on all 5 of these characters, but I know damn well you can agree on at least one of them, Loki being stronger than Shanks. Hence proving my point why Shanks can never be the strongest character in One Piece.